Heidi, good afternoon from Berlin, good evening from Melbourne, and good morning from Evanston in Chicago. Hi, Gail and Stefan and Tim.
Good morning.
Okay,
Hi.
Good afternoon. Good
who's the sleepiest?
Me. Always. 24 hours a day.
Gail, it's 7:30. Well, when we met you just now to test it out, it was 7:30 in the morning. How is that for a get up time for you?
Oh, it's fine. I'm usually up. I'm just not usually verbal.
Did you say herbal or verbal?
Verbal. I need more of this.
You are definitely not herbal, right? Yeah. And Tim, how are you doing?
I'm great. I love these 11 p.m. hangouts. It's my prime hour.
You know, it is your prime hour. Tim had to get up at 4:30 in the morning on Saturday morning because he looked after the trombone horn hangout. And
It was like herding cats a little bit, but we got there.
They were great, and the Zoom link broke just before we went live. So you were so calm; it was amazing.
We got there.
The best thing was about the trombones was that we finished after an hour, so that was 10 p.m. Berlin time. The party went on in the Zoom room until 3:30 in the morning. At which case, Christian Lindberg either fell asleep or passed out. We're not quite sure which. Fell asleep, of course. And they left him in the Zoom room. So Tim, when you opened your browser, you could see him. That's quite amazing.
He would have just been sleeping. Luckily, I didn't do that. But it was a close thing.
He was just like, and the others were all pointing to him. It was great. It was a great hangout, wasn't it?
Spectacular. One of my favorites for sure.
So where's Radovan?
I'm not sure. I might go and find him. He'll be with you.
Find him, and we'll say
Find him.
Go find him. See you later, Tim. So we'll just say hello to everyone watching, of course, on the Horn Hangout page on Facebook. It's great to see you all. How was your weekend? And let us know where you're watching from. And on the website, where there's some very exciting things going on. So you want to get over to the website. I'm sure someone can post the link right now onto the Facebook page, because there's some special links there for you to click and download about our favorite etudes, which we're going to be talking about today. And there's a present for you there as well. So get on over there, click to download. I hope the whole thing doesn't crash now. But guy and gal, I thought we'd talk a little bit about etudes today. What do you think?
That's how you learn the horn.
You really think so, Gail? Is that something that is just really, it just has to be? There's no way around it.
Well, I didn't study horn until I got into college. I played the horn in the high school band. And Mr. Covert, who was my teacher at Ithaca, he made you eat and drink and sleep etudes and solos. I never played an excerpt until I was a senior. And because he said, these are much more difficult, and you need to build your technique and your endurance and all your musicality ideas in these etudes and practice before you have to put everything into 8 bars. And I do feel that very strongly. I feel this is not an etude, and I know that I've got to share it. But this book has been my handbook for.
Hold it up again. Hold it up a bit longer. It's the Chantal book. For valve horn. You gave me my copy when I was visiting you. I still have it. It's not etudes, but that's your go-to book, right? I know that.
Yeah, it really is, because if you take a week or two or a month off or whatever, that is the best way to get back in shape.
I want one.
Half a key a day, or a whole key, or play all your force and see if you play with a drone. So that is a book that I've used in my playing since I was a freshman in college till I still do every day. And when I teach 5 students, when I'm at school, not now, when I teach 5 students a day, I get to play Chantal 5 times a day.
Heidi Oros says, good morning, Gail, and Chantal is the thing. Good morning, Heidi. F. Horn Patrick says, hi from Canada. Coprush is love. Coprush is life. Good. What do you think, Stefan?
I was actually, when I was studying, I was very bad in practicing those things. My teacher took the book of Reynolds away and said, you're not practicing this anyway. So, and I came to the exercises and etudes a bit later, I have to say. And now I do play a lot, and we'll find out what they are, because they really keep me in shape. And I can't play the concertos so many times because, you know, it's a waste of musical ideas, and you can't, after you've played the Strauss concerto, I don't know how many times in the life, it's a bit like you want to focus if you really have to play it. So I do a lot of just exercises and etudes just to keep in shape. At the moment, I mean, we were just talking, I haven't had a break. It's now 6 weeks, I think, since my last concerts in Brisbane. So I think that is like the longest break I had since I was 14.
Yeah. Performing break, you mean, not horn break. You've been practicing. I know you have.
No, but just, performing break.
Yeah, it's really
interesting.
Etudes in these days of lockdown and isolation. I mean, thank goodness we have etudes, because as Stefan said, I wouldn't want to practice orchestral excerpts this whole time. And to play all the concertos is great, but it does, you know, we haven't got that many. But I'm discovering so many great etudes, also from you guys, from the last weeks of. We've made a little list. We haven't posted that one yet, but any of you watching on the Facebook page, go over to the website. We have some downloads for you of some of the etudes we're going to be talking about today. We're waiting for Radovan. Radovan had a few technical problems, but if anyone can solve them, Handsome Tim will. So what have we got on the website first? We have. Gail, do you want to take us through some of yours? We have 3, which I've learned how to separate PDFs. I'm very proud. You've got Maxime Alphonse, Neuling for low horn, and Barbato.
Now, when I was in the Chicago Symphony, I had a lot of free time in the after and the second half of concerts. So I always had my etudes in my locker. And that would keep me in shape, because maybe one week I would be playing only a Mozart piano concerto. The next week, Mr. Clevenger would be off and I'd have to do the whole show. So you have to stay in shape for what's coming up, not what you're just doing. And especially when we would go on a month-long tour, I had a book of etudes. And in that time, you know, you would go and Xerox, not copy, Xerox a piece of paper. And I had a book of etudes, and two of these were in that book, and the one and I don't have it in front of me because it's on my Dropbox. The Maxime Alphonse 5.
Yeah,
that's the articulated one, because you have to do articulation in your orchestra job.
This is number 17. This is the one that starts like this, right, Gail?
Actually, that's not the one.
That's not the one.
No, I must have the wrong. It goes.
Hey, look what we got! Yay!
Sorry, and thank you, Tim.
So whoever comes late to a Horn Hangout has to pay for the coffees for everybody else.
Okay, happy to do that. Yeah.
I like that you sort of like have cleaned up behind you, so all the like books with the etudes are in front of you, so you're going to play them all for us now?
That's right, in alphabetical order, yes.
Radovan, welcome. How are you doing today? You're in.
Thank you, all is well. I'm sorry for the glitch with the thing. I've changed the device in the room, and that's why it took me longer. I'm sorry.
It's absolutely no problem. We are thrilled to have you, and I can't imagine 3 more wonderful people to spend the afternoon with. So thank you. Thank you to all 3 of you. We were just talking about etudes and why we think they're so important. And Gail has started, the one we've downloaded, we've scanned and downloaded for Gail is obviously the wrong one, but...
But it's similar. I mean, the one that I had in mind was, it goes, da 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 da. That one.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more lyrical than just an exercise of articulation.
Okay, because this is, you said number 17, so this is the one I found. Doesn't matter. This one's also good if you haven't got the Maxime Alphonse books. Now, Stefan's left. What's going on today? Okay, while we wait for Stefan, you 2 haven't seen my new shoes yet.
Oh,
very nice.
Aren't they horrible?
excellent.
I got sent them for my birthday, and my birthday was in February, and they arrived 3 days ago.
Oh.
Right, Stefan, what's going on? Everyone's leaving.
He's
Can
gonna
you
get the book
can you
out.
play us the one that Gail means?
Which number?
Well, obviously not 17.
No, it's maybe the next one over or something. It's on the right-hand side of the page.
Okay. So while Stefan's looking for that, let me just tell you, if you go over to the website, we have scanned and uploaded PDFs of all the etudes we're going to be talking about today. And there's also a present for you all there. Just this one of Gail's is not the one she was talking about. It's a different one, but the one we've scanned is good anyway. Here we go. And now Mr. Stefan Dohr is going to play it for us.
I'm just trying to find it.
Don't worry, Radovan. It just
not-
18 or 19.
Okay.
Which book is this? Which etude is this?
It starts on a third space C.
This is book 5.
Oh,
That one?
That's like
Okay,
that.
let
I don't have the
me-
music with me, but
Is that book 5 or book 4?
I think it's book. Well, maybe it might be.
Ah, no.
Bear with us. Horn.
That one?
That one.
Number
And then
7.
Bravo. And then you take it the octave lower, and then you can put it in C or any other key that you might be playing in that week, so you have a variety of ranges and keep the same kind of articulation.
How do you encourage students to do that? Because when I say play it in C and in D and E, they sort of look at me as if I'm asking them to drink cat's blood. To transpose etudes any further than E flat seems to be something that people just don't want to do.
Well, you're not gonna survive in an opera.
Here we go.
You won't survive very long if you don't. You just get the giggle when all of a sudden you see something in D flat and the whole horn section stops.
Yeah. And writes in all the notes before we start. Yeah.
But also, I mean, I remember Norbert Hauptmann teaching these sort of etudes, but he also, asked the students to transpose them, but play everything on the F horn.
Yeah. He really did. These poor students, they had to play everything on the F horn. Nein, F horn, alles F horn. But it's good. Why do we love playing on the F horn?
That's where we're from.
That's where we're from. I like it because it gives us that much more resistance, and you have to support more.
Yeah, the air control, you have to be really careful with this, otherwise you just split around all the time.
Yeah.
So if you can make the F horn sound really beautiful and articulate and clean, it's going to be easier and more facility on the B flat side.
Yeah, here. Gail, you've also included the barbato. Now, I'm not playing that one because it's too hard and I've never played it before. But it's the ba da 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 da.
I'll play the first
Oh,
line.
great.
So I always play it. It's 2 pages. I love these because they're 2 pagers, and you play it down the octave, and then you go back to the left-hand corner and play it where it's written. So you get, it's sort of like not as musical as a Bach cello suite, but you're covering that full range of a good 3 octaves and facility and stretchability, because I really feel as you mature, you need to stretch more, as we do in our regular bodies. So that's part of the stretch that I think is important.
Those are beautiful. I'm going to be playing those. You think it's better that way around to play low first and then the written, or can you do it the other way around? Or
Well, it was harder for me to play low, so I did it first.
okay.
And also, I have a little amateur break around middle C, so it just kind of scrubs that over and over and over. So why not do it first, and then you go into the area where maybe it's a little bit more natural for me. So maybe if the other way around for other people.
Yeah.
But I feel like you really get your air going better in the low range, and then you just apply that air to the upper range.
So is this why you've included Neuling for low horn as another one of your favorite etudes?
Yeah, these are the ones. These are 3 that I would take on a tour. And if I had to go to 2 books, now that we can carry everything on one iPad or something, I would take my Chantal book, and I would take probably that Classique book, because I feel like there's a lot of articulation, a lot of slurs, It looks like this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it just has a variety of music that you can play. I mean, I go through a lot of different etudes because, you know, I don't have as many concerts as people that play in orchestras anymore. So I create my own. You have to give yourself a lesson every time you play. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And so the Neuling, the one that you've included is this one. That
okay, now
one.
put it on a dotted quarter equals 48.
Oh, okay.
That's the way I like to do it, because then you really see if you can really slur between the notes.
Okay, so there's no metronome marking on here apart from Andante. So everyone who's just downloaded it from the Horn Hang, I hope we're not going to get in trouble for copywriting or whatever, but we're really just trying to help everybody. So I hope that's okay. We have our favorite etudes scanned and on the website right under the video box, so you can find them there. So you would suggest dotted crotchet. What do you call that? A dotted quarter note equals 48.
Yeah, it makes it, and then if you can get a little bit of a drone going at different keys.
Okay. That means every time you take a breath, you have to really expand. Otherwise, I'm not going to make it to the end of the phrase.
That's correct.
Yeah, good. So good questions just come in from Ida saying, how do you practice the etudes? Just playing through or breaking it up? What would you say to yours, Gail?
Depends on what part of the week I'm on. If I'm learning it and being a student, I stop and fix it. It's like in the Daniel Coyle book, stop and fix it. Don't let your mistakes continue. But at some point you have to perform. Yeah. So then at the end of the week, you turn on your recorder and you perform it. And then you go back and listen. So
on Fridays, it's more fun than it is on Monday.
It depends on how your mindset is.
Yeah, you know? That's true. That's true. That is very, very good advice. Thank you for those three. So Barbato Neuling, that's from the first book, isn't it? Or is that
yes.
the first book? And the Maxime Alphonse book 5. How many did he write in total? Do you guys know?
6.
6 in total. You know much more than me. Radovan.
Yes.
How about yours? What do we got first?
I chose these not because I practice them particularly myself, but because they're examples of different things. There's, you know, stylish and different. We have Franz Strauss, who wrote these etudes, I believe, for himself because he was very keen on practicing, and because they performed the Beethoven symphonies, he included the Beethoven symphony.
This is the one. That one.
Exactly. Yeah. And then here, talking about playing it in fragments, I do strongly recommend playing it in fragments first. I've come across maybe typical mistakes that one does, and I just wanted to maybe as general advice say that one, you know, when I talk to my students or for myself as well, just try to plan in advance as much as possible. That means including tempo, not taking too of an optimistic tempo. Often we run into trouble just by throwing ourselves into that. And then as Gail mentioned, when we are in performance mode, as you mentioned towards the end of the week, never going back. I think just not allowing yourself to go back, but planning other things as dynamics, especially breathing, also like a string player would use bowings and so on. So a lot of planning, and you can use colors if you want to paint your page, and that I think it's easier, like conductors use, and you get a lot of information from different colors. I do recommend rests and slower tempo, and I also recommend trying to learn either difficult passages or the whole etude by memory, because if you can do it by memory, then you know you have it down, and then you're not overwhelmed with the visual information. So
this is really something tough, because I mean, all three of you are big time soloists and you play a lot from memory, but us sort of mere mortals that play in the orchestra, I literally almost never have to play from memory. Can you train that?
Of course, of course. I mean, there are books, not that I've read them, but as a child, it's not difficult to do. And then it's just like training your memory. These people who can, tell you number pi. I don't know how many digits. It's a matter of training. And well, I learned this from a clarinetist colleague of mine. And he said, if you have a passage that you can play on memory, then you have it down. So whether it's solo repertoire or etudes. I was also thinking why etudes are maybe not necessarily popular. And I think, they have a reputation for being boring and dry. It is true that some etudes are not well written. For instance, I prefer, Hackelmann's low horn etudes there to Neuling. Neuling is hard work, and it's good, and it's rewarding, but it's hard work. And again, Bach suites that were mentioned, I prefer it for a low range. But trying to play it as musically and as stylishly as possible, so that we don't separate, the hard work of the etudes, and then we have fun with the pieces. That probably explains why students prefer playing repertoire rather than etudes.
Yeah. So your other choices was the Kopráš, which would be more of a sort of more of an etude, and then the Caprice. The Caprices I find more like pieces.
Yes. Well, Kopráš, I was thinking of you, Sarah, for a moment, because he was a colleague he played in the opera in the early 19th century. He was second horn in Unter den Linden. So he was your predecessor. He's a colleague of yours. So you should start writing etudes of your own as well. And and he did it for the needs because he knew this man, the gentleman who invented the valve horn, Stölzel. And I think because they were used to hand stopping, this was a new thing. So they had to cover the need. And that's why the Kopráš etudes got written. Although the set for so-called low horn are more popular, he wrote some for high horn as well. But I think they were doing that. Or as in Wagner playing with all the fast transpositions, I think they just changed their valve positions and continued hand stopping in this transition period.
You've chosen the number 59, the lyrical one. Is that
yes.
right?
Yes.
Oh,
no, it's nice and slow. And so on, etc. When it gets difficult, then you say etc.
Yeah, it's got the variations and the rest of it. So don't start it too fast.
Yes, but very cantabile and very slow, and take your time and enjoy. Yeah, it's a nice piece.
Yeah,
it's just an example.
Yeah, I like that one.
The French Caprice I did choose because that's something that we learned with our teacher back in Zagreb, in my hometown. He studied in Paris in the 1960s. And indeed, he used this ascending system. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the third ascending system. The horn is, basically in G, and then when you in F, and when you press it, it goes up. It becomes horn in G. So it's something very specially French, a system which unfortunately didn't survive. And I wasn't familiar with it. I played a normal descending third valve. But we were introduced to this repertoire early on, and I got a feeling about it. So partly, I think it's French tradition that he brought to his lessons. My teacher, and I enjoyed practicing them. It puts you to the limit. Breathing has to be very controlled.
Sorry.
But more than anything else, it has to be steady, light, and elegant, and maybe capricious because it is a caprice.
How fast would you do? Because the number 4 is quite allegro vivace.
Let me just get. I have it on my.
Your audio is a little bit quiet, maybe because Stefan's hanging around in his practice room. I don't know what he's doing. Stefan, shut up, mate.
So this one is in 1, more or less.
Okay.
And then you look for different characters. So the next song is on your tiptoes, and so on, And then in the end, it has a typical stretto because Gallet was a musician in the opera house and the Italian opera house, so there's always excitement. Yeah?
Yay! I love the way the Gallet finishes. They're always really sort of diva operas. La, la. But why doesn't he put the high note?
Well, you can try that.
Of course you can. I'm worried about Stefan now. I told him off and now he's disappeared. Stefan, Handsome Tim, can you sort Stefan out? I don't know quite what's happening there. No, but thank you for those. Those are really great. We have them, for those of you watching, we have all these downloaded on the website. The PDFs are the ones we're talking about today. And we also have a surprise for you there, which we will tell you about at the end. Yeah, so practicing these, so we should learn them by heart. Yeah? We should start them slow at the beginning of the week. We should record ourselves. We should move the tempo up. Can you summarize that, you two, again? While we're waiting for Stefan to sort himself out.
Something that crosses my mind is two teachers or two horn players that I knew. And one was a fantastic, I'll mention no names, but one was a fantastic musician, a dreamer, had a beautiful imagery and fantasy. And he would always push the limits. And then there was another horn player who knew what he could do and perform on the stage. So he was more realistic. And the one who had more success was the second player, okay? He was a famous soloist and so on. But I think the combination of both, so using your fantasy and pushing the limits, but also knowing what is doable and not having too high expectations, allowing yourself on the first performance to do 30-40% less, and then maybe in the gradual process improving your score as you go on. But I think we need to be a little more realistic about our expectations and not be disappointed. Now in the times of Corona, I have both individual lessons and group lessons, and when we get together we have a laugh and we talk and we sort of mutual support. But also when we go into performing, and then I ask them to comment, especially with positive things, realize what you did well and what you want to improve on. Then I see that this performance mode, asks for different things. So it's good to hang out together. And that's what you're doing. So thanks.
It's hard to keep this performance feeling going. I never thought I would miss it so much, You don't realize how much we need it until it's not there anymore.
Yeah. But that it's good. Therefore, it's good to just do it even for each other or in small groups, and I think that keeps you going. Yeah. I was also thinking maybe in the context of this French Caprice by Gallet. He's a player from the beginning of the 19th century. He was successor to Dohr, his teacher, and he influenced French horn playing in a big way by playing and teaching. Of course, this is the time of the hand horn, and to understand a little bit about the historical background also, I think it's interesting. We talked about Kopras and how he met the needs of the new valve instrument. This is pure hand horn playing. So understanding a little bit about the colors, about what was possible, what was not possible. If you play Cherubini Sonata, there are articulations in the autograph which are undoable. And maybe Cherubini didn't do it. This is a horn playing, so he knows all the details, all the specific requirements. So going into that a little bit, or a modern etude from the 20th or 21st century, which knows exactly what they want with all the extended techniques and everything. So it's good to understand a little bit that and do research. So listening to a lot of music, listening to different schools of playing, not necessarily national, but how do you play differently in different orchestras in the States? Why are things so centralized in France? Because of its horn. Why is Germany so rich with musical culture? Because it was never one country until the 19th century. So you had all these wonderful, different centers of culture, and people play differently, and that's still the case in Germany. There's not one style to it, or in London for that matter.
Yeah, that's what I love. All these different schools. I love that we can all be here. We've lost Stefan. Stefan's trying to rejoin. He's not quite sure what happened. He dropped his iPad. So Stefan, if you're watching us, I hope you can join us soon, because I wasn't going to play any of his etudes because actually they're too hard. He's chosen really, really difficult ones. Ah, he's coming back, but he's sideways. Reminding me of Tim Jones. Ah. There we go. There we go. You're back again, Stefan.
I'm really sorry. Somehow my iPad kicked me out, and I'm on the iPhone now. That's not really nice, but I'm trying to get back to normal somehow.
We'll take you however you join us.
Yeah, I have to hold the iPhone because it's. Let's see.
We were talking about, Radovan was just reminding us about the difference in the cultures of all the Etude composers, you know, the French concert pieces and the German melodic ones, and that's what's so wonderful, that we have all these things. And then the modern composers who also really knew how to write for horns. And one of yours is Vern Reynolds.
Wait a second, I'm really sorry.
I see you twice now.
I'm sorry.
There he's back. We got it. Handsome Tim has saved the day.
No, I think when I plugged in my iPad because it ran out of battery, I pulled the cord out of the thing, and the whole router fell down, and everybody was like, sorry.
That's all right. Do you feel like telling us about Vern Reynolds?
Vern Reynolds. Yes, yeah. I love Vern Reynolds.
Yeah.
You know, when I was starting in Frankfurt in the opera, at the same time I was playing a lot with the Ensemble Moderne at this time, and actually this sort of etudes were a very good help to find rhythmical things like, and this is why I've picked number 5. Because you develop a sense of 5/8. This is going to be hard now to put in the iPad. That will fall down again.
Orchestras dissolve when anything in 5/8 or 7/8 comes. I don't know why.
And so on, and sort of like you develop a feeling, and then there come like 2 breaks in between. It's like, it's a bit more tricky. So there's a lot of these things in the book, but also there's a lot of like intervals that you really have to hear before you play them. And so this is, one of my not favorite books, but the thing is, I have to practice it because it's not my favorite. So the things not to practice are the ones that you have to practice.
Gail, do your students like to play Vern Williams? Vaughan Williams, Vern Reynolds?
Gail Reynolds.
I choose which students would be successful at some of them. I use the Vern Reynolds quite a lot, but not until like their 3rd year. I want some of the other development to go first. But then again, my teacher studied with Vern Reynolds. So yes, you all do then. And I was very upset when I realized, all my Vern Reynolds are over in my studio. And one of my students said, I scanned them for you. So now I have them again. But I think I've also taken a lot of those suggestions in the front of the book and used those for solos. The ones he has written on the preface page, because he exploited the whole range of the instrument. And I think they're really very fantastic. And especially if you finally make the students sit down and realize, this is a whole tone. This is a, minor third, major third. And then they get the idea of how he actually wrote these.
Yeah. Who was the horn player that came to our... Oh no, that was the Lord Shaw. That was the guy that I was thinking. The guy when I was with you in Evanston at Bean, and it was Lowell Shaw that turned up, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Lowell Shaw. Yeah,
that was who it was.
But he had gone. What's interesting, and I never have had the opportunity to ask him over and over. He was at Northwestern for 2 different degrees. He studied with Max Pontag. Way back when, and then he had to go into the service, and then he came back and studied with Phil Farkas. So he overlapped, a great different generation.
Chicago's had a lot of good horn players over the years. Goodness.
Well, it's very interesting, as Radovan said about the different colors of the horns and the different styles throughout Europe. Sort of that was that way in the United States for many years. And why? Because it was the instrument that they played. I mean, Boston and National Symphony all played Alex's. So did and Baltimore Symphony. Lawson, before he started making horns, he played second horn in the Baltimore Symphony and played an Alex.
So many different schools. Oh my goodness.
And why do we play Geyer type horns? Because Geyer settled in Chicago.
Wow.
Those are the reasons.
Yeah.
It's nothing magical. And it's sort of then you had more Czech and Bohemian people move into Chicago area, and that's the style.
Fascinating. It's really great. Potag wrote some. Tony Smouse just reminded us. Potag wrote some great etudes as well. He wrote some. I must dig out that book. I have that book somewhere. Chris
Max Potag book is in the horn room.
Yeah. Chris. Oh, we do in one of the.
Yeah, I think so.
What's in our horn room gets buried for years.
What's in the horn room stays in the horn room.
Well, but if you look at that Max Potag preparatory melody book,
yeah,
chantilly, they're chantal melodies. People go, oh.
The chantal is from my part of the world, from Vienna, so that comes closer to here.
For those of you who've just joined, Gail's go-to book is Chantal, and that if you got it there, Gail, show it to us again. Those of you that just
it doesn't have a cover anymore.
Oh.
Same here.
Yeah, all the best etude books don't. But we're dinosaurs. We still have the books. My students, they don't have books anymore.
No, but books, I mean, it's good to, if you like pick one or two of the etudes to show them, that's fine. But people should buy the books. I mean, they are not very expensive, and it's good to have like them in paper, because then you sort of like, you can't easily skip them. On the iPad, you just go like, next. Oh, that's too difficult. Next. But here, no.
Yeah. Chris Gongos is watching. Hi, Chris. Lovely to see you. We've had someone asked, Stephanie Fritz asked, how many days should you stay on one etude, and when do you know how to move on to the next one? When the one you're playing sounds good. Right, guys?
I would also maybe add that, in Philip Farrak's book, he talks about planning your day. And I would agree that it's important to planning, even if you don't have 100% efficiency in that. But deciding how much time you want to dedicate on one etude and then moving on. So it's not like I have the whole afternoon or the next month to learn this thing. It's going to be 30 minutes every day or 40 minutes every day, and then you stop. Just as you start, it's difficult to start and it's difficult to stop, but you must stop and move on or have a rest or whatever. And then I think also noticed with myself that when I was playing repertoire that was maybe too difficult when I was younger, it would build in so that I was getting tense without being aware. And at that time, my teacher didn't actually talk about those things, and I notice it more and more with my own students. So reminding yourself constantly to relax and play in a relaxed sort of body mode, and then I think the things that are difficult will also work in performance mode. So I think that's important to remember.
Well, if I look at one of the ones Stefan has, the other two, one is okay, the Belloli is okay, but the Maxim Alphon, will you just take us to your other two? I would be very tense if I played that one.
Yeah, but this is a typical example because it has so many different parts in it.
This is which one now?
This is the Maxim Alphonse.
If you go over to the website, all these etudes we're talking about are scanned and waiting for you to download them so that you know what we're talking about and give you something to practice if you don't happen to have all the books.
Yeah, the good thing is
to buy all the books after. Oh yeah.
It's a bit frightening at the beginning, but also it makes you have to think about rhythms, you have to think about the intervals, but you can also just he also suggests play this 10 times.
Yes, what was that? I saw that.
Yeah, that says 10 fois, 10 times.
Oh, I'm gonna get my dog. Stop.
But also, what he also has in there, we are with Radovan, he has these third ascendant.
Yes.
With a third valve, now you can replace it with 1 and 2. So that's if you see something like this, just do 1 and 2 for the moment. That works quite well.
Are you going to give us?
But they are very, you can work on the details of it first. You don't really have to play it in ones. I of course you can after a while, but there's enough work on that for a couple of days.
There's a very good question just coming from Matthew Highslip. You're such a loyal Horn Hangout viewer. Thank you for always joining us. He says, do you each have students work through entire books one after the other, or do you have them study or choose from a wide variety of books at the same time?
Not necessarily going from beginning to top. No, it's nice to do some, and if they are working at a good pace, we can go through the whole book. But it's good to cover with different books, so we just don't get into just one way of playing. Yes, yeah. I wanted to say about the Maximal phones. I found them quite difficult. I think as a student myself, I got stuck somewhere on book 4 and 5 and never did. There is something a little bit old-fashioned in this repeat 10 times. And if you don't do it well, you are bound to be repeating your mistakes, you know? So I believe always there are two ways you want to approach. Either you facilitate things by making it easier, putting it, like Gail said, an octave down, playing a super slow tempo, or you make it more difficult by making a transposition which sends you up into the stratosphere. So there's always, two ways to approach that. But the tempi are also very optimistic here in this book. And I tell my students usually not to always obey these super fast tempos, because I see them just doing too much damage on the way. So I think
that's a lot of times.
Critical, as far as the choice of etudes, I think, there's this good little video, how to practice efficiently, on YouTube. And it's very good because it explains what happens in the brain as we learn.
Annie Bosler's. That was Annie's video. Yeah.
And then, so pushing the limits and going to your limits on the one hand, but I think also, like whether we do it while we're warming up or in like exercises that we talked about, Sarah, I think repeating certain things which are easy and relaxing is also good. And I think the reason I like to do that, and I think it's not a waste of time, is that we keep the connection between the head and the fingers and the lips going. And I don't want to get into the tricky subject of focal dystonia, but I think when problems start, it's somewhere on that connection. That's why we need to kind of oil that and keep it going in a relaxed manner, because when it starts, it's hell to get out of it. So I think there is a sense to repeat in a relaxed way, not spending your whole day on easy stuff, but not on too difficult either. You can be over ambitious and get in trouble just by always being on the edge the whole day, and that's exaggerated too.
No, it's very good just to take parts and bits of these, especially this book number 6 is like, but also the Vern Reynolds, if you just take a group of 4 or 5 lines, or even 3 lines, or just 1 line, and just really that every note is focused and where it should be. This is the way to work. And then you can, even if you don't need the 2 bars and 2 bars in a row, and have a little breaks, and then put them together later, because sometimes the Reynolds or the Maximophones late ones, they're really hard to play through. There's not this week.
No.
And that'd be like an athlete, if you look at any athlete and you don't have the skills yet, and you try to play, let's just say tennis, and in the Daniel Cole book, he talks about going to a Russian tennis academy, and this woman has taken your backswing into every single section, and you don't hit a ball for 2 years.
No.
Well, that would never happen here. Your elementary band has to play Mahler or something, and instead of going very, very, very slow. And that's like being a farmer having to watch his corn grow. And sometimes it does, and sometimes. So you have to be patient. And I think because of the age of our students and with the technology that we all have nowadays, the lack of patience and slow down.
Yeah.
It might be okay what's going on right now. You have time to do this.
Exactly. I was thinking, this reminds me of my life during my teens or so, when things were slower and you actually had time to dedicate, and you didn't expect every solution with a quick click on your computer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
this one, so this is on the Bololi. They are very nice. They're 6 ones of them, only 6, but they have 3 or 4 pages each, and they're nice melodies and nice. They're not too difficult, You can transpose, if they're too hard, you transpose them to E flat first. They're really nice to play. Fantastic melodies.
The Polaka, can you give us that Polaka Gefühl?
Polaka, wait, let me see how I can.
Gail, your dogs are howling outside.
Yeah, one of them is. She can't stand to be away from mommy.
Which transposition?
How about A flat?
Oh, come on.
No, okay. You can do it in D. Oh, yeah, in G. Okay.
No,
G is good.
G. No, it's too high. Do it E.
E, okay.
Oh, have to practice.
Good. Okay, well, you've got all of the ones we've talked about up on the website. I'll just go through mine really quickly because, of course, being a local player, I love playing low etudes, but I don't only because I did. What is all that noise? Is that you, Stefan?
Sorry, water.
Water. Didn't sound very loud. Water. I can't only practice low horn etudes because otherwise I wouldn't be able to play the high notes. So I actually practice more like Stefan's. But if there are a few you really would like, there's this one which I know you all know from the Kling book. You know that one? It's lovely. And you have to play it like an opera singer, otherwise it's just boring. So go. Da, 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 da. Don't play and talk at the same time. It's not good for playing, but you know what I mean. Sorry about the splits. But you can do this one with all the cadenza bits, like an opera singer. So imagine yourself being an opera singer. Otherwise, it just gets just a lot of notes. But if you could rum bum bum, you can really make a lot out of it. So that's one I love to play, and I also find it relaxes because it's got so many nice jumps. But I don't know. Do you guys practice that one?
2-octave jumps, relaxing? I'm not sure. Yeah, that's relaxing.
You know, you wouldn't believe how useful these low notes are in an orchestra to just be able to go do.
Exactly.
Do, do. You know, sometimes winning tenure is all about notes like that and not about all the stuff in between, you know. Like you have to come in on pedal notes, and even, you know, it's all in these studies. Studies are just great.
Talking about the pace, how we want to study and move on to the next thing, you can decide as a teacher or as a student with yourself to be either terribly strict and polish an etude for months and months and months until you really want to record it. Or you can just move on when it's time to move on. I think one of our aims is to prepare the students for professional life, and there they won't have so much time. Maybe in Venezuela, when they have the youth orchestra, they learn a program and everybody plays by memory for 3 months. But in normal life, you have to move on, and you have to, while you're performing one program, prepare the next one. And I think to get into the rhythm of things, they have to understand that we actually mean next week that etude, and I don't want any wrong notes, because that will be your part in the orchestra. So that developing that kind of attitude and you know, just seeing that they play more precisely with more all of the qualities that we need, but so that it's somehow related to practical life and the expectations, because we all know that leap between students and professional life is a tricky time. So we want to prepare them as best as we can.
What's hard?
But it's the same. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you go first.
It's the same also, that if you really find out it's too difficult, just put it away and get back to it a couple of months or weeks later, so that you say, then you find out I've developed more strengths, or I have developed this on other etudes, and now I'm ready for it. It's not always that you can, don't start with it. Yeah.
But I also find that one thing about going into the professional world is most students don't know how to sight read anymore. And finding an etude book that may be not as difficult, but you could assign yourself to sight read something every day and move on. Just don't.
Gail, you have a friend that's going to be doing that, right?
Yes, I do.
The Etudes. Tell us about that.
My friend James Stevenson is a wonderful composer here in Chicago area. He used to be a trumpet player in the Naples Philharmonic in Florida. And he has written 2 different months worth of trumpet etudes. And well, we can play trumpet etudes. We can take them down the octave or whatever. And so it was really great to get a new etude every day for a whole month. And he approached me the other day about, hey, how about doing some horn etudes? I said, I'm there, you know, especially now. So we haven't finalized it, but I think he is getting ready to put out a subscription. You pay X number, a few dollars, and you get a new piece every single morning in the mail. And it's really fun, and it's nice to go back to them and polish them up. But to read, I mean, that's something, you know, I don't know if you have sight reading in orchestra auditions in Europe, but that's something that
We sure
always say, oh, we have to have sight reading. And I'm like, why? Because if you were in the orchestra, you would go to the library and get that music out and practice it before you come in.
We have 5 rehearsals for every concert, so
we have usually, you would have 3, maybe 4.
Yeah.
But it's still, maybe Stefan gets sick and you have to slide over and play principal horn.
Absolutely.
And so you have to sight read something.
Yeah, of course.
And it's a skill that's very nice. I mean, look at all the London players that sight read all those, you know, movie scores, and it has to be right. And it's a skill that you have to learn.
And with Petrucci Library, you just can go and find so many pieces. It doesn't have to be etudes. You can play all sorts of weird concerts and solo pieces and sonatas and things. There's such a lot of things.
Yeah. So what I'd like from you, dear Horn Hangout viewers, we would like a list of you, which are your favorite etude books, and I'll try and put them all together. We've been promising to do that since we started this 3 weeks. I don't know where the time goes. We've been here at home for weeks, but time seems to go quite fast. So let us know which ones are your favorites. If you want the etudes we were talking about today, they are on the website for you, along with one beginner etude, which Clemmy in Frohnau in Berlin chose for me. They're from the Jürgen Runge books. Is that right? You probably don't know them. I didn't know them. They're for beginners. It's a German guy, and these apparently are really, really nice to play if you're a beginner. He's not a beginner anymore. What we're doing on Wednesday is I have 2 beginner and school horn teachers coming in, because I don't feel qualified to talk about the very beginning stages. Stefan, you said you don't feel the same. You know, this is something that we've promised we'll do, and we're going to be doing that on Wednesday, because to start off someone well on the horn, that's a huge responsibility.
Absolutely.
And I would like to know, Heidi Wessel will be coming, and I'm working on the second guest. I hope it'll be who I'm working on, but it means she has to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do it. But this is such an important moment, you know, you can make or break a horn player, not only chop-wise, but also inspiration-wise. I just would like a few tips, but we'll be bringing you many more etudes on Wednesday of a not so difficult category, ones that can inspire. But a very interesting question just came in. Are there etudes from other instruments you would steal, Gail? Apart from the Bachs, I guess.
Sure.
Jonathan Aidesley. Thanks, Jonathan, for that question.
Well, I think the trombone players have stolen from the vocal literature, all the vocalists that we all play. And if you take any of those vocalists that the trombone players steal, we can actually expand it, because we can play it in bass clef, in C, we can play it in old notation and new notation. So you get three different ranges immediately.
Yeah. Radovan, do you steal any? Flute?
Yes, I mean, Arban method, we talked about, those are not etudes, are not only etudes, but exercises. And there I've worked a lot. It wasn't my idea. It was given to me through Ivor James, and he learned it through Aubrey Brain. And so there was a bit of a tradition of using trumpet methods, but also with warm-ups and their ideas and buzzing and so many aspects of playing.
Stefan, you got any?
I'm still practicing my viola etudes.
Yeah,
on the viola. On the viola.
We want you to play those live. Do you have a viola at home? No. You do? Oh, here we go.
You know the joke, who's a gentleman?
Who's a gentleman?
Yes.
Who's a gentleman?
Knows how to play the viola but chooses not to.
We had that on the trombone hangout. They can say that about any instrument, just not about the horn.
Talking about trumpet etudes, they have, I mean, if you look at the Schlossberg book, you know, it gives you an idea of all these different, you know, you have long tones, you have slurs, and so make up your own that fit the horn.
Yeah. I'm scared about what's about to happen.
I'm not playing. No. Okay. It's not even my viola. My viola is with Romano, with our second violin. He plays it when we play the Mozart Quintet. He always plays, you know, because he usually plays in the octet, he plays second violin, and he plays on my old viola and the second viola in the Mozart Quintet.
Wow.
Well, Stefan, I challenge you to play the viola on the Horn Hangouts one day. So there we go. I actually stole my best friend's book of flute, tango etudes by Piazzolla.
Oh.
It's mainly too high, but you know, you can put it down and it's really great. It's quite feisty stuff to play. I just think you can steal all sorts of stuff. I have a list of Klaus Wallendorf suggested the Verust oboe etudes. Yes. They're on ISMLP, and you play them in E flat. Otherwise, they're quite painful. So those are.
They're still painful in E flat.
Yeah, I know. So we can steal those. Yeah, you guys have been amazing. Really amazing.
You know, I think we have to think about this word that I get again. It's in one of the Daniel Coyle books. Picasso said, "A great artist doesn't steal. They don't borrow it; they steal it, and they keep it. That's a new idea to add to yourself. So go ahead and steal. Yeah. Just don't publish it."
I've got something for you all. It's a present, and you three have got. Gail, I sent it to you yesterday. You practiced it. I'm going to send it to Radovan and Stefan as well. It's a brand new etude called, a friend of mine, Mike Barry in LA, has written me 4 or 5 cinematic horn etudes, because
fantastic.
He writes for Hollywood, so he like loves the horn, and it's always so heroic. And we've given you the first one here as a present. It's on the website to download. And I want you all to practice it. Radovan, want you to practice it too. You're going to like it. And the first one is called Leaps and Bounds, and it's really cool actually. It's not quite, you know, it's a little bit modern, but it's really. How did you find it, Gail, when you played it?
No, it's a really good blow.
Yeah, it's quite hard at the end.
If you've practiced your sevenths or whatever interval, and in your arpeggios, it kind of starts to feel like it flows a little bit more.
Yeah, it's hard to sight read, but I want you to download it. And if any of you feel like making a video of it and letting me see it somehow, we might have a little competition, and the winner might get a lesson, and we might live stream it. How about that? We'll see. We're looking for ways just to keep motivated, all of us in this time. And what you were saying, Radovan, about the etudes and the orchestra and needing to keep this concentration up, and what you need for playing a certain line in an orchestra and getting that through your etude practice. It's hard to do that at home right now.
Do you know this book?
No.
I just got this book.
This is a great
Very clever.
book. This is a great book. This is called Etudes from the Repertoire by Steve Becknell. He's principal horn in the LA Opera, and they are so cool. You can order it from him online. They are Beethoven 6, Bizet's Carmen, Dvorak 9th, Schumann 3rd. He's made etudes out of all these well-known excerpts, and they're a lot of fun to play. I'm glad you've got it too, Gail, because it's really it's a good book, and I just that's really one I can recommend. But I want you all to play the cinematic etude, because it's cool, and if you like it, then we might have another couple for you. But it's about motivation, and if you have any suggestions how we can help with that, then let us know. But you three, you've got it.
Okay, good. I will practice it.
It's cool. It's quite a blow. By the time you get to the end with the ritardando and the forte. But Mike really knows. Thank you very much, Mike, for that. I wanted to pay him, and he said no, he's donating it to the Horn Hangout. So thank you very much.
So nice.
If I may just add, Sarah, I was going to say, we have to see this time, which is very unusual, in perspective, and maybe in 1 year time, in 5 years time, or in 10 years time, we want to look on this and say, wow, that gave me a chance, an opportunity to do something different, whatever it is that you choose, whatever your project is, to practice, to do some other things that you never had time enough for, and so on. So we want to, this will be over, and it's not going to stay like this forever. So let's make good use of time, and then maybe it'll make more sense.
I think also, like, we meet together in person and we decide on which the best recipe of these 8 weeks everybody brings.
We could write a cookbook, a horn player's cookbook. All the recipes that I've managed soup so far.
I've managed now to ferment blueberries.
Wow.
Well, that sounds exciting.
It's very exciting.
I cut onion and garlic. I'm very good.
That's good. You guys eat a lot of garlic.
For the master chef, yes. I am not.
This is my second week of trying sourdough bread.
Your bread looks amazing.
It doesn't have enough, so I got to figure this out. Like a stronger starter or something. I don't know.
Yeah, stop.
Something new.
So to play your etudes and do some cooking and let us know how it all goes. If any of you want to record the cinematic etude, I want to hear them, and I will be picking out my favorites. And not just the notes, guys. It's how there's not so much information there. How etudes are great to bring out your musical personality as well. Make a piece of music, make a cinematic etude out of it. So I'd really love to hear that. Stefan and Radovan are going to be practicing it too. You can join in as well. You might get a prize. But thank you, you three. You are so inspiring. We need a selfie moment. Everybody likes to take the selfies. Are you ready for this? The selfies? Oh yeah, we got an etude.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. There we go. How many animals do we have today? Which oh, that's the cinematic etude. Oh, great.
Yeah. Oh shit! I didn't put the title in.
No, I got it.
Got it.
Thank you so much for joining in. You're so inspiring, you three. I could talk to you for hours.
You are. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. And I will get out some new etudes for myself.
Great. I'm going to go and practice etudes now. Are you guys going to practice etudes? I hope so. And for the beginners and the people that haven't been playing so long or are getting back to horn, on Wednesday, we'll have etudes which are a little bit less challenging than Maxime Alphonse Book 6. Bye. Thank you all so much. Bye.
Take care.
Now,
Bye.
how do I turn this off? Tim's gone to bed. Oh, like this.